So I'm still your right-hand man?
Of course you are, Teddy.
And you didn't take Johnson on that business trip to New Jersey, Pennsylvania?
No.
Hello, hello, hello.
Good afternoon from the CNN Center in Atlanta. I'm Reggie Akey, and here's a look at what's happening now in the news. One of the men who was with O.J. Simpson during what prosecutors say was a robbery in Las Vegas says that there were guns involved. He also says going in armed was Simpson's idea. Today is the third day of a hearing to decide if Simpson and two others will be tried on a dozen criminal charges. Walter Alexander says Simpson wanted him to be armed when they confronted a memorabilia dealer, but afterward offered no help. He says Simpson did advise him to get out of town, saying, quote, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas unless you're O.J. Simpson," unquote. President Bush is using his pen to send a strong message against the wishes of congressional Democrats. The president has vetoed a spending measure for health and education programs. The president signed an increase in the Pentagon's non-war budget. A Democratic-led Senate committee is looking at whether designated cigarettes as light or ultralight give smokers a false sense of security. The Federal Trade Commission uses a machine that smokes all cigarettes the same way to determine tar and nicotine levels. Researchers say people who smoke the lower tar cigarettes take longer, deeper puffs and smoke more to compensate for the lower levels of nicotine. Opponents of the light or low tar labeling hope that today's hearing will build support for a ban on that designation. 4 people who received organ transplants at Chicago hospitals have learned they contracted HIV from the same donor. They were also infected with the virus for hepatitis C. The transplants happened in January, and the patients learned they were infected over the last couple weeks. Officials at an organ donation agency say a screening questionnaire shows the donor had engaged in high-risk behavior, but that tests for HIV and other conditions came back negative. They now suspect the donor acquired the infections in the 3 weeks before his death. Some 30,000 extra troops sent to Iraq earlier this year are beginning to come home. One combat brigade deployed under the Bush administration's surge strategy is now on their way back. The Pentagon says 4 others are going to follow by July. The troop reduction is expected to test whether a drop in violence is permanent. And there you have your headlines this hour. For more on these stories and the other news of the day, CNN is your source, online, on TV, or when you're on the go.
Are you from Massillon, Wisconsin?
Yeah.
I love that accent.
What?
Say, trousers.
Trousers?